could see actually for this 2 years of full-scale invasion, majority of information and articles in gender studies on war is connected mainly with women. And my major scholarship is actually about gender equality in the armed forces of Ukraine for 8 years of war, because war started from 2014 when Russia occupied Crimea and part of Donbass. So together with military women who came and asked for help, we've been working in this project about visibility of them in the armed forces. And we've got much progress, and we could see that there is a lot of criticism, and the status of women is rather well discussed. And at the same time, we remember that when we talk about gender studies, it's not only about women, and of course this topic is more popular. At the same time, if we really want equality and egalitarian relations, we should work with masculinity and the situation with men. And as a public sociologist and education activist, I do think that it's important to involve men. I do know and believe that men support feminism, and there are feminist men, and I think that it's an important issue to deconstruct war through the masculinity and men studies. And there is much less information, and those of you who are thinking on the research topics and aspects, I invite to write and analyze more men and war and masculinity and war. And there is critical men studies theory, and in this theory, especially when you take it to analyze war and nation-building process, and these issues of nation-building is important for the Ukrainian society, because Russia as a country is very imperial, and Ukraine was fighting for its independence for centuries. And in this imperialist invasion and in these relations, nation building is an important issue. And when you study gender issues through war and national perspective, masculinity is always very problematic. And war is analyzed as a very military structure where actually men, as a group, they have a good opportunity to practice so-called hegemonic masculinity. Yes, they are those who are in the society that is stereotypical towards men. And you remember that actually masculinity and male box is tougher and closer for men. It's as far as masculinity has more status, so it's more efforts taken to protect it. And there are huge expectations from men, and in the situation of war, it's of course expectations to die for their country, yes, to be defenders. And nation citations like "nation exists" when there are men who are ready to fight for her are rather popular. And when you look at this literature, so you could see that usually masculinity and men are very problematic. At the same time, when you see on this critical men studies and theory of hegemonic masculinity, this theory should be developed more to look for more egalitarian masculinity. As far as still gender relations, they are changing, and some men are becoming more egalitarian. So we could see that we should stress on this aspect and in this image. And in my chapter, I of course work with this theory of critical men studies. studies of gender, nation building, and war. At the same time, I pay attention that during Euromaidan protests and war, we could find alternative masculinity, so-called more egalitarian. Men who are more emotional, for example, who are not so tough, not so violent, men who agreed, even despite the fact that they were not supposed to do this, to defend their country. Yes, who are like us, are from academia, and they publicly write and criticized armed forces and military. It's not so easy task, especially when you have full-scale invasion. So in our chapter we cite this man, and at the same time probably the most non-conventional image of hegemonic masculinity as leader as Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. In men's studies, in politics and international relations, very popular hegemonic image is Putin. Yes, he is analyzed as a very tough person, and you could find a book about Putin. At the same time, when full-scale invasion happened after a couple of months, it appeared some articles where Zelensky was analyzed. The world was admired. There were a number of books about Zelensky, and when you look at his pictures, you could see that he's compassionate. He could cry, for example. He's not like Putin, very tough hegemonic guy, but he allows these emotions, and at the same time there are some military who put their selfies with like animals, pets, and who write about their deep emotions and fears. Yes, because usually when a full-scale invasion happened, it's more expected that women openly say about these fears. It's not expected from a man. But what we could see that even in this case that masculinity changes, and we could experience. Of course, it's not very well researched, and there is lack of information and examples on this. And another interesting image is also as a country, if it's feminine or masculine, and Russia and Putin, their country and country politics is using misogyny and homophobia. And there is this so-called civilizational choice between gay Europa. If you are interested in the studies, you could see that how Russian propaganda, and especially after full-scale invasion, is using this image of, gay Europa, and at the same time, very homophobic image in contrast to Ukraine, where public opinion towards LGBT people and their rights changed quite a lot after full-scale invasion. And we do have in Ukraine LGBT military. The people who brave to become public while in military, and in other international militaries, you could see that it's not so easy also for LGBT people to be open. Yeah, usually it's don't ask, don't tell. So in our book chapter, we write on this. So there is also a particular separate chapter on LGBT military. It's very interesting phenomena, and this aspect. So it's like for 10 years of war, these people, these activists, they were fighting for their visibility and their right. Currently, there is draft law on registered partnership for all couples, same-sex and heterosexual couples, and we do believe that, and we hope that this legislation will be passed.